the Nerdentials podcast, starring your hosts, Joe Tweedy, Matthew Johnson, Nick Thomas, and Lynn Dudgeon. Welcome to Nerdentials, your weekly dose of the nerdy essentials covering film, TV, video games, and comic books. I'm your host, Joe Tweeden, and joining me across the ether, nary only a mile away from my household, is the Lynn Dudgeon.
Heyo.
What was that?
I got a text message, apparently.
Well, this is the smoothest intro we've ever done.
Right?
Well, let me continue as you check on your texts. Hey, no worries, dude. It happens. But guys, welcome to Nerdentials podcast number 88. That is right. Lynn, what does that mean?
We're one episode closer to 100.
And yes,
one episode closer than we were last time.
Exactly. We keep inching forward, and that's good. And guys, I'm sorry if that's annoying, but we're at 88 now, so we're going to keep doing that until 100.
So you can suck.
But thank you for watching nonetheless. A little bit of housekeeping for you guys that do enjoy listening to us. Guys, we are on podcast form. If you're watching us, we're also in video form on YouTube. So go check out Nerdentials on YouTube. And if you're also just driving a lot and don't have time to watch but want to listen to these crazy shenanigans, go check out our podcast feed across pretty much any platform that plays podcasts. Guys can check us out on Apple Music, Google Play, Spotify, Stitcher, and probably many more. I know I've done a couple Google searches in the past. There's a lot of random ones out there, but those are the big ones to remember if you guys are podcast listeners. But anyway, thanks for joining us. And one last little tidbit of info before we jump into this crazy bit of news during the summer. You can find all our crazy shenanigans, our podcasts, our videos, and everything else that we do, including articles, on a nice fancy little website called Nerdentialsmedia.com. That's right, folks. .com, that's where it's at. So, thank you for joining us. Let's kick off kind of the biggest bit of news that we're going to be covering over the next probably couple weeks, because there's a lot of info dropping, guys. We will get back to movie talk and TV talk possibly this week or next, but in the interim, we have a crap load of gaming news.
Ooh.
And this is because, Lynn, they canceled E3. We did a whole episode on the cancellation of E3 because of quarantine. Remember?
Yep.
Yeah, that was pretty epic. And because of that, one of my favorite sites to go that also does a fair amount of reporting, as we try to do in our conversations anyway, is a nice little place called IGN. IGN.com. They do primarily gaming news, and they were, I say, blessed, but they are pretty big in the industry as far as reporting the news. They got a lot of sweet hookups this year with game developers, and they're kind of the go-to, I think, because of E3 canceling, and IGN is doing this work at home bit with all their content, and they're staying strong with it. They basically are doing their own version of E3 this year. So if you're already clicking on this, you guys know what E3 was. It's that expo that happened every summer, where all what's coming up this fall, what's happening next year, game reveals and stuff like that happen. And they've called it IGN's the Summer of Gaming. They did 4 full days in a row of live streaming of all these different game trailers, developer interviews, sneak peek of game footage, and on top of that, they're still going. They did a separate PlayStation Sony reveal for the PS5. We'll cover that soon, possibly tonight. And they are jumping into. They even did. They even hosted the EA live stream for all of their games coming out, and I don't think Microsoft has stepped up yet and fully revealed their plate. So that may be coming up soon, as far as like their additional projects game wise. So what we do have to cover this episode is day one of the IGN Summer of Gaming Expo. And we're going to try to squeeze in the PS5 reveal. We might make this a two-part episode for the week, so you might see 2 gaming episodes this week, but we will be covering that in this recording session. So guys, thanks for joining us. Let's throw it over to the little soundbite that we like to call Gaming Bits. Guys, welcome to Gaming Bits. This is the Nerdentials coverage of IGN's coverage of the Summer of Gaming. And to be fair, it's the same thing if we were reviewing E3 reveals. You know, someone had to put the content out there initially. So we're not so much reporting as we're just kind of having our feedback and opinions as our Nerdentials group would have over these things that are coming. So we're a little bit of news. If you guys did not tune into the streams, then I guess you're going to be learning about a lot of these games for the first time from us. So cheers if that's the case. Leave a comment down below and let us know your thoughts on these games as we talk about them. So I'm kind of, this is in chronological order. Some of these games I did not have either heavy interest or much info on, so we may go over a couple of these titles pretty quickly, but some of them we'll expound upon based on how much we do know about them. So first up, on the day one Summer of Gaming Expo stream, we got a game trailer for a game with the title Werewolf the Apocalypse Earthblood. I was like, that's a mouthful of a title, first off.
Yeah.
So, what we know about this is it's an upcoming action role-playing video game developed by Cyanide and published by Nacon. It's set in the world of darkness and is based on White Wolf Publishing's tabletop role-playing game of the same name, Werewolf the Apocalypse. The game is planned for release second quarter, third quarter of 2020, so I believe at this point we're past second quarter and they just revealed it. We're coming into summer here. So this is probably going to be an early fall or end of summer release. There's no official date, but it is coming to PC, PS4, and Xbox One. So visually, I watched the trailer, and you guys are going to see some B-roll footage here as we're talking about it. We'll showcase some of the gameplay footage as we talk about it. I saw this, in the trailer you see this man who's kind of on the run from what looks like a pack of wolves, and it's a stormy night, looks kind of apocalyptic a little bit, and once he makes his way into this facility, very mechanical facility, he mutates into a full-blown, like, alpha male werewolf, like full-blown werewolf, and then all the wolves circle around him, and then all of them, like, look up into the sky and howl as if like, this guy's our leader, kind of. It was kind of the presentation shown there. And I wish we had Jeff Berry or Nick on right now to share some insight, because this is a tabletop game, and I'm sure both of those guys have probably heard of it. So we will keep a close eye on this title, because it was very CG looking, but what I love about all the trailers we watched this year, dude, Lynn, is for the first time this generation, we get the subtitle at the bottom of most of these trailers saying that this is in-game footage captured and not CG. With
Yeah.
because next gen is just so freaking ridiculous between the power of the PS5 and the Xbox Series X. We're seeing game trailers that look like they're supposed to be CG, but then we're finding out that this is actually in-engine characters that have been animated into a cinematic. So, first off, for
Yeah.
me, hashtag mind blown. And do you have any thoughts on this? Do you know anything about the tabletop for this? I
Uh,
don't.
I did play the tabletop, but I don't know if this, looking at it, if this really holds to that very
They
much.
I think what you're saying is they're not showing a whole lot of the
Yeah.
actual gameplay. We're seeing obviously a cinematic in the trailer
Yeah.
here, and so and screenshots too. I honestly can't tell what kind of mechanics are going to be involved.
Yeah. It is.
So
Uh, I don't know. I like the alien-looking creatures. They look like things out of, or creatures out of the Thing, where they're human, but
mm-hmm.
they've clearly been morphed or gene
Mutated or
spliced or
something.
something else.
Yeah,
Yeah, it looks cool.
yeah.
And then there's also those mechs that are in the background too, that they look like suits, like power armor suits, like somebody to hop into.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. The interesting thing, Lynn, about this is technically last gen release as far as it's being promoted for PS4 and Xbox One. So this is going to be one of those few titles, though we've had many discussions about where we're talking about cross gen and Microsoft with their PR terminology of what's that called? Basically, I forget the term. Apologies, nerds. Basically, Microsoft is telling all their third-party members, and they themselves are promising that anything in last gen that moves over to first gen and gets any upgrades like textures and stuff is going to be a completely free transition. So
Yeah.
if we buy this game and then it gets a major facelift when next gen comes out, it's for Microsoft and their PR talk. It's going to be a, what's it called, something delivery service. I'm totally mind blanking on it.
Express?
What's that?
No, it's
No, it's
Express. It's not Express. It's
we'll come up with it. We talked about it in our last episode.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
Anyway, guys, apologies there, but I am curious, like, if this is going to be updated shortly after, or if they're going to even touch it after this. Who knows? Anyway, let's move on down the list. I don't have a lot to say about this next title, but I love the concept. This concept is really cool. It's for the title Metal semicolon Hellsinger. Now, Metal Hellsinger, the only description we're given, and they showed a lot of gameplay footage in the reveal, and the developers were being interviewed about it. It's a rhythm-based first-person shooter. Hashtag hybrid genres, right? So when you guys think of rhythm-based games, that's usually like Guitar Hero, Rock Band, those games where you're following a pattern and hitting buttons to the tunes of really cool music. Now, this is taking that idea and smashing it into a first-person shooter. It's developed by an indie company called Outsiders, and I think it's not coming out till early next year, actually. I think it will be next gen for sure. But what I saw in this was shotguns, like classic rifles and shotguns, running through a medieval castle, blowing away demons and monsters. And what's crazy is I don't know if we'll be able to do a let's play of this because it'll get copyright striked immediately. Because there's like 4 or 5 heavy metal bands, like professional record label
It's,
metal bands that are in it for the
it
soundtracks.
says lead vocal is the lead singer from Trivium.
Right? So there's
Jeez, that's crazy.
the whole concept of the game is playing and shooting enemies to the music. So there's no way people will make videos of it, but there's no way we're going to be able to monetize it, dude. It's just insane in my head. But one of the questions asked to the developer about the gameplay, because what would happen is what they said is they've actually taken the music and they've created the songs in layers so that the more enemies you nail with your weapon, the more intense, layered, and fully fleshed out the songs become as you're shooting. So, for instance, you go in at the beginning, you start tapping a few little demons, you start getting a drum beat, you keep tapping you keep nailing them to the beat of the drums that you're hearing in the song, then a guitar solo kicks in, and as soon as you start going one after the other on your enemies, there's a point-based system, like arcade-style point-based system that racks up as you're shooting enemies, and the music completely starts fleshing out more and more as you keep that score climbing. Now, they didn't showcase what happens when you die or fail. I imagine the song stops or dies or fizzles or something.
Yeah.
But the one question asked to the developer was, is this a pretty intuitively easy game, or is the guy that you have demoing the game just really good? And the developer responded with, no, he's really effing good. Like, he dropped the F-bomb a couple times and said, no, he's really good. Like, he's better than any of us. Like, I can't even, like, I made the game and I can't even keep up with the guy that demoed the game for us.
Yeah.
I was like, dude. So it's going to be a very, like, challenging shooter with heavy metal music. What do you think?
Oh,
What do you think? Does that sound interesting to you, Lane? I'm kind of curious about how that
yeah.
plays.
I think it's gonna be like it's marketed as Doom meets Guitar Hero, which is
Totally.
crazy.
I
But
love that. That's a great analogy.
I have a feeling it's gonna be like the high octane Devil May Cry action where you're constantly like shooting. It looked like there was a lot of melee in there, and then there's I don't know how the boss fights are gonna work, but there's already clips of that too.
Yeah,
And
I
like there's
imagine, like with
there
Resident Evil, with the super bosses, like at the end of Resident Evil 3 that I played, there would be several portions of the big boss that you're hitting, probably.
yeah, maybe yeah.
I don't know.
In the trailer, I did notice he shoots like a explosive terrain, like an environmental hazard, and he
Mhm.
blows up like five, and like the guitar gets really deep, and like you get the double kick on the drum. It was pretty cool.
Yeah, I'm actually very interested and excited to see that game play out.
Yeah, it
Um,
definitely. It looks like it'd be entertaining, probably for all those people that are trying like a challenge. And I mean, Doom itself is a freaking challenge. So
yeah, totally. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I know, dude. I haven't even gotten through the first level of that yet. I'm still contemplating doing a playthrough of it too. I'm not sure yet.
yeah, it's Doom. It's good.
It is. It's one of the best ones that to have come out of the series so far. Um, Next on our list, we've got a medieval hack and slash title called Chivalry 2. Um, Chivalry 2. So, it's developed by Tripwire Interactive, published by Torn Banner Studios. The big selling point on this one is that they are promoting right up front. It's going to be all cross-platform, PlayStation, Xbox, PC. I don't know about anything else, maybe Switch, but they are promoting cross-platform, and it is a multiplayer first-person slasher inspired
Shit.
by epic medieval movie battles. The description says players are thrust into the action of every iconic moment of the era, from the thunder of cavalry charges to storms of flaming arrows, sprawling castle sieges, and more. So, other than that, the trailer looked fun. The multiplayer aspect is enticing. The cross-platform idea is cool. It means we can play with a lot more people, or we can find a lot more groups to play with in this setting. I didn't see anything
Yeah.
super intriguing as far as story. It's kind of just a teaser at this point, and I'm also personally not familiar with the original Chivalry. Since this has got a 2 slap to it, that means it's a sequel. But it looked entertaining nevertheless. So I wanted to mention that, and I think it's coming out this holiday, possibly end of this year.
I think the big draw to it is something like For Honor, where it's just that really big battleground type game, and it's two armies basically going at it.
I think that is the selling point, and also just reliving, as they were quoted saying, every iconic moment from that era. You know, and there's like in the trailer they show flaming arrows coming down. It's kind of like the siege battles that you would see in Game of Thrones and stuff.
Yeah,
So
like all the mounted implements. Like there's a big arbalest in there and everything.
yeah, definitely. I think it looks cool. We don't know too much more about it aside from that. So if it falls into our radar at a later point, we will obviously cover it.
Oh yeah.
I think we can move on to the Waylanders. Waylanders, developed and published by Gato Studio. Early access on Steam was available on June 16th, so have been a few days at the time of this recording that it became available. It's a classic party-based RPG featuring some of the top talents who brought well-known titles within the genre, like Dragon Age, Mass Effect, or Pillars of Eternity sagas. Ooh. So
Played that one a bit.
yes, obviously there's some people from BioWare with Dragon Age and Mass Effect being mentioned titles. And then Pillars of Eternity having that Baldur's Gate classic late 90s feel. And I think there was a little bit of that third-person partial top-down aspect to it. And it is party-based, which I think you can co-op it, is the feeling I got from the trailer on it. It's early access on Steam, so I'm thinking it's a PC-only title at this point.
Yeah. Interesting. The combat in it very much feels like Pillars, with how the party plays out and choosing your actions. And then like the world traversal is different than Pillars, where it's very much camera feels like it's back probably like I'd say 20 feet from your character as you're walking through the world, and very cartoony. Well, not super cartoony, but more cartoony than.
It's a little more stylized. It's not It's not like photorealism.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed that.
It looks good. It has a kind of Reckoning feel to the art style. Like a mild Reckoning feel.
Mild Reckoning, because I think the Heart of Reckoning felt a lot more like WoW or Darksiders as far as some of its styling, as far as the armor goes. But yeah, as far as the smoothing out of human faces and being a little more on the cartoonish side, if you will. So guys, our next title up is called Second Extinction. Now, upon first watching this, I was like, are we getting another Turok game? Not quite. So, this game, Second Extinction, developed by Systemic Reaction and Avalanche Studios Group, which you pulled up another note, Lynn. What are they known for?
It's a new studio from the makers of Just Cause and Mad Max, and both Just Cause. All of those were
All really good.
ridiculous, time sink fun, and Mad
Yeah.
Max itself was
Uh,
fun.
yeah, absolutely. So, the premise here Second Extinction is an intense 3-player co op shooter where your goal is to wipe out the mutated dinosaurs that have taken over the planet. Teamwork is vital as you adopt the role of one of the survivors, using a combination of weapons, abilities, and skills to take on the vast number of enemies. Now, my hot take on the trailer that you guys are watching right now, my reaction to this is this looks next gen as far as the gore level. Like when I see a shotgun shell launching into the side of the dinosaur, there's detailed gory damage happening to these dinosaurs as you were chopping into them with machine guns and rifles, and they definitely look mutated. There's a bunch of velociraptor style dinosaurs and obviously some bigger ones to come. The one thing they said in this is it looks very open world, but the developer commented saying in the interview that they like to think of it as big map based gaming. So you'll go to different regions, but within each region that you travel to within the storyline, those regions are really massively open on their own. So it's not a massive open world like Just Cause, but each area that where you're going through a mission with two of your buddies is going to be very big, because I do think there's vehicle travel in it. Don't quote me on that, but or no, maybe not, because it's not big enough to justify that, but it is really huge because you're on foot, I think, almost the entire time with you and two other friends. So the thing I thought was cool is that it's the co-op action of it aspect, and there's a lot of detail, dude. This looks like next gen level gore and detail.
Yeah,
And
it.
yeah.
I think we saw this one in the Xbox reveal. For you remember when we were going through all those titles?
Oh, I feel like we
This
did
was
at
in
some
there.
point, maybe
Yeah,
earlier.
because I was making a Dino Crisis joke. I
Yeah,
don't think
I
it's
think
not gonna be on rails, but
no, but yeah, I think this might have been one of those titles. We'll have to look back. Leave a comment down
yeah,
below, guys, if you remember this from a previous episode we covered. But yeah, it looks cool. It looks like a lot of fun, especially if you're co-oping with some buddies. Um, the next one on the list, a little short, not too lengthy of a teaser, but it looked fun and hilarious with the GTA reference here. It's called Rustler (parentheses Grand Theft Horse). It's developed by Jutsu Games, published by Games Operators, and the overall premise is you become a medieval thug in a crazy open-world action game full of pop culture references and complete insane quests, kill heroes, steal horses, fight guards, rob peasants, and more. The interesting thing about this is they're kind of taking an old school GTA style with it, where it's not straight third person over the shoulder, it's actually top down action.
yeah.
Total isometric style, moving your character around a map, stealing a horse. It looks fun. It's basically, it's not Red Dead Redemption Western GTA. It's not modern day GTA, but it's medieval GTA. So
Yeah.
looks fun. It looks promising. I didn't have too much more to say about
So
it. It was
the crossbow fighting and it looks pretty funny.
dude, and then you could set freaking random people on fire in the trailer. I saw some people going up in
Yeah.
flames. So the next semi bigger title that I have recently become a fan of, and you yourself have followed the series for the most part. I think I don't know how many titles you've played in the Yakuza series,
Oh yeah.
but they showed this one wasn't just a teaser, because we already saw the Yakuza Like a Dragon teaser in the Xbox reveal last month, but this one was 15 minutes of in-game footage while interviewing the developers. So, a quick rundown of what it is before I point out some of the new things that we've learned. It's developed by Ryuga Gotaku Studio, published by Sega, and it already came out in Japan on January 16th of this year. So it is coming up, I think, before the fall or for next gen. It's a single player RPG adding Dragon Kart. This is a side note because take all the Yakuza series, all the different mini games, the story progression, character progression, and there's one new essentially mini game that they added, and it's called Dragon Kart. And in the trailer and the footage, it plays just like freaking Mario Kart. You're literally riding on a bicycle with a carrier in the back. You have weapons. You're chasing, or racing rather, enemies through the streets of Japan. And it looks ridiculous, but it's one of the newest minigames they've added that's different than all the rest. The one thing, the hardcore difference in this one out of all the previous Yakuza games is they are switching from action oriented battles to 4-member turn based with contextual environmental weapons. Now I saw a lot of the footage. It's going the way of old school, a mix of old school Final Fantasy with a little bit of modern, where there's pausing in between actions. You can switch between your teammates, your characters that you are associated with. The huge difference with this, though, is there aren't like, oh, fighter, tank, healer roles. The developer was asked how many roles will there be, because this is taking on real world jobs as being character classes. And he said there's a total of 19 classes, meaning everything from a postal worker to a hustler to maybe a baseball player to a dancer. They had a woman using her purse as one of the characters, and she swung her purse as a weapon. I was like, what is this? And it's taking everything that's already classic about the Yakuza series, being real world Japan with RPG elements, like life simulating almost, but then it's adding in that fantasy turn-based RPG element in the combat now. And they said if there's a bicycle nearby when it's your turn to select a character and you can attack the nearby character and a bicycle happens to be between you and him, that's what they mean by contextual environmental weapons. When you go to attack your character, like in previous games, you could pick up pipes, boxes, things that are nearby, and swing them at your enemy during the attack. So, Lynn, your thoughts on this? How many other titles have you played prior to this one?
Of the Yakuza series?
Yeah, of the Yakuza series. Yeah,
I've 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 played,
there's like six of them, I think.
yeah, quite a few of them. I'm missing a couple within there, but it's, this is way different than any of the. I mean,
Previous
just
iterations.
just that's very different. Like there's like I don't know if it's a thug or like a homeless guy, but he like grabs a bottle of liquor out and he like lights it on fire as he sets a dude on fire. And then there's another guy.
Yeah.
He's got a guitar and he like, it almost seems like he's a bard class where he's playing music and it distracts them, like all the enemies,
Yeah.
which is cool.
I think there's going to be a lot. Like, these games are super deep, and I want to place just a small shout out, no, a big shout out to a YouTuber that I personally admire. He will probably never hear this, but I want to give a shout out to a YouTuber whose channel goes by the name The Completionist. Anyone that has heard of him before, he basically picks a title. His original goal was to complete 100% a game every week. I think he's changed it up depending on the title because some games take longer to beat, but he basically 100% a game, and then his video that follows is basically a 20 plus minute video with commentary about his full experience, how he feels about the game, what he enjoyed, what was hard, what was good. And it's a really cool channel, guys. Go check it out. I just wanted to throw that as a random shout out. And the reason I mention him is he recently covered one of the last Yakuza games, and he was always hesitant to 100% these kind of games because of how much stuff there is in a game to complete. The one plus side, he said, is that all the Yakuza games have built-in inventory lists that allow you to keep track of how many of these games did you do, how many of these games. So, props to him for
all the mini.
Yeah, props to him for
Just
doing
the
it.
sheer amount of mini games within each Yakuza game is crazy.
But the reason I brought up him and him pulling that off was just the pure fact that this, with the added 4-person battle system and with the 19 plus jobs that you can pick, I cannot imagine how many internally added completion lists were added to ever completing this game. I don't think it's realistic.
You're gonna probably have to upgrade every last one of those jobs all the way for 100%. That's gonna be freaking crazy, I bet.
That's what I mean, is because the completionist, he doesn't just try to unlock all the achievements. The whole idea of 100%ing a game is 100%ing even the built-in internal counters for completion. So, like, example for me, Diablo 3, there's 20, 30 achievements, 1,000-point score for the original release of Diablo 3, but then there are built-in achievements into this massive book in the game where you have to literally, like you just said, max out every class, max out every character, do a play of both male and female of each character. Freaking ridiculous. And I've gotten a huge chunk of that, but I will never 100% that game by any stretch of the imagination.
And in Diablo 2, it's also like you have to beat each boss on every difficulty setting, including hardcore mode. And that's just a lot of time. It's time sink.
There's achievements for the difficulty setting with permadeath, where you die and the whole game gets erased, and you start from the beginning. Like, I could not 100% something like that. I don't have the dedication.
Right?
So, anyway, Like a Dragon. Yakuza Like a Dragon.
This looks awesome. I will probably end up picking up Like a Dragon. I love the turn-based combat.
I will for sure be checking this one out.
Sweet.
Anyway, so
what's the next one, good sir?
Our next, we got a little bit of a subcategory. We might go at length on a couple of them, but this is kind of our quick fire titles, where we got a bunch of teasers. We do have information on them, but they were short trailers, just kind of burning through the list of crazy reveals. And a lot of these are either almost coming out or just got released at the time of this recording. So the next one was called Beyond Blue, and it actually came out on the 11th. Now, we're recording on the 20th, so unfortunately this was last week, but it's developed by Eline Media. They're an indie developer who's known for having made an Alaskan-based narrative game called Never Alone. It was a cute little adventure game, heavily story-based. This title is based on real science and featuring content from BBC's Blue Planet 2. So, like, they've taken, like, actual documentary info and footage and it's a single player narrative adventure into the depths of our ocean. The premise is you get to explore the untouched world, and it's coming to all platforms now. So, like, a little late to the game on covering this, but the one thing I wanted to say is I watched the brief trailer, and you're literally a scuba diver floating through a very realistic, sim-like underwater scape where you can look at dolphins, sea creatures, gigantic whales, and you do have a ship that you go back and forth to, and you're basically collecting data and exploring. It's basically a science. It's basically an aquamarine. I don't know the official term for scientists that study the ocean, but it's basically a hashtag wet dream for them. Simulator game. Puns
Yeah.
intended. The animation looked fluid. The characters aren't. I mean, the person you're playing as is about as realistic as if you were playing like The Sims. You got a character that's in an underwater suit. The animals look pretty realistic. The water physics as you're swimming through it look realistic.
Yeah.
It looked like a fun game. I don't know.
The
I don't know if I'll spend $60 on it. I have no idea what kind of price point they're gonna go with this one. I haven't even looked it up, but
uh,
it
yeah.
looked entertaining. It was just a quick mention I wanted to throw out there.
Yep. It's it's like one of the data recovery type games where you're exploring. It allows you to zoom in on the whales, the sharks, and everything, and get like
Information
that.
about them, yeah.
Yeah, like if they've been injured or something, it lets you see what happened and what might be the probable cause.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool concept. I'll give it that. Moving on, couple quick mentions, throwing these out here. Coming August 28th is Wasteland 3, and it's coming to all platforms, but if you have Game Pass, it'll be free to you August 28th, and I will definitely be doing a Player Pass. Shameless plug to our Player Pass First Look on Game Pass Games series that we do here on our channel. I will be putting out a sample of that game when it comes out. Wasteland 3, it's a post-apocalyptic RTS game, top-down style. This one looks better than all the previous ones. Previous ones, obviously, I think the first one's over 10 years old, so it started out with that Command and Conquer Red Alert classic top-down RTS game where you command troops, you build up a base, you take out enemies. This one has a lot more three-dimension to it. It's still top-down. And you command troops, build up an army. It looks fun. I'll be sampling it later this year, guys. Throwing that one out there. Let's see. The next one I'm going to jump into that we have information on for sure is a really cool platformer by the name of Demon Turf.
Uh-huh.
Demon Turf is developed by Fabraz. They made the 2D platformer Slime Sand. That's what they're known for. If you guys want to Google that, it's one of their first efforts. They're pretty indie still. And that one's a straight 2D platformer. Now, what sets Demon Turf apart from most 2D classic platformers is that they have made this probably, in as far as I know, for me, one of the first 2D, 3D hybrid platformers. So to describe this, the environments you walk through are fully 3D. But the characters, the enemies, and the bosses are like fighting against Paper Mario. Straight up, flat, two-dimensional animations, walking and roaming through a 3D environment. So I highly suggest you'll see the footage here, guys. I'm going to throw up a sample here as we're talking about it, but it's a really unique look. Your lead character, Beebs, is a young demon on the path to conquering the demon world by taking down every one of its warring gangs. What's cool about this is it's an open world platformer where you can visit these bosses before you come in conflict with them, and they'll tease you, make fun of you, say things like, "Yeah, right, you'll never be anything, pipsqueak," kind of things like that. But as
Yeah.
you progress through the story, you'll eventually come encounter them as boss fights. And the whole goal of this story is you're taking down each of these gang bosses. Um, cool concept, but I think more than anything, visually, this looks really cool. I don't know if you've got any screenshots to look at, Lynn, but
It it looks like old school Brave Fencer Musashi with the platforming, like off of PS1.
you deep cut mofo. That's why I have you here, sir. Now, how did that game play out, though? Did it have a little bit of a 3D world to it,
It
or
it was a full 3D world. It's just this feels similar to that, with
okay?
you unlock certain abilities and stuff, and you're able to traverse differently as you get those abilities.
Yeah,
I mean, any
there's this whole some of the footage we might show here. I'm not sure if I captured it or not, but like, there's a point where you become like a Sonic spinning
Yep.
wheel,
disc,
a
yeah,
disc. And what's cool is you are moving forward through a 3D world, but your character is a flat looking
yeah.
drawn disc that's moving, but it looks like a
Look,
cartoon.
it looks like Parappa the Rapper.
Yes, that's a perfect example.
It looks good. It it's a cute, Paper Mario-esque style platformer.
Yeah, totally. So, I don't have any extra details on this. I did just want to mention this one here. Observer System Redux. Now, the reason I want to mention it is because my very first, shameless plug, hashtag my very first player pass video I did on the original version of this game called Observer. It's one of the first games available on Game Pass that I tackled. It is a sci-fi first-person detective game narrated, I forget the actor's name, I apologize guys, but he's one of the more gravelly voiced actors from Blade Runner, is the lead character in this, and you're just trying to discover a murder mystery, and it's in a cybernetic Blade Runner style world where you can upgrade your character, you get guns eventually, and you're doing detective work using your cybernetic implants. What's cool about this is in the next month or two, they are releasing Observer System Redux, which is a complete next-gen revamp of all the graphics, a complete revamp of the next-gen graphics, and they're adding a half dozen new storyline missions to the original game. And I never did a full playthrough of it because it was a first look. It was an older game. It came on Game Pass. But guys, when this System Redux comes out, I will probably do a full playthrough of this because it was the first Game Pass game I had ever played for a video, and I gave a complete approval rating. Must check it out and play it. It had such a cool vibe to it. And with the next gen graphic layering over it, dude, it looks so cool.
Oh yeah, like everything looks better with the update that they did to it.
HDR, what was it? What's that? Coloring, lighting, all that ray tracing crap. It looks so good. So, guys, we're running a little tight on production time right now, so we are going to cover one more title right now. And there's about 4 other games that we definitely want to mention, but we will come back in part 2 of this summer of gaming, guys. There's a lot to cover this year, and we'll probably have several episodes of Gaming Bits that cover these titles. So, that being said, I want to jump down to one of the last titles mentioned on day 1 of Summer of Gaming, and that is the title Mortal Shell. This is a Souls-like game. It's a ruthless, deep action RPG that tests your sanity and resilience in a shattered world. It's developed by Cold Symmetry and published by PlayStack. Now, I watched the video or the trailer, which you guys will be watching right now. You'll be seeing samples of it. And I listened to the developer interview. So, a couple things that were described about this is one of the questions they were asked is, why did you guys want to develop? Because they like, you guys basically like, you're not offended by the fact that this is compared to a Souls-like game. You know that's what kind of game this is. It's punishing. It's you the more you practice the moves and how to get through areas, the better you'll become. It's a very challenging, very punishing third-person fighter RPG. And they said, because we really love those games and we wanted to make our own version of one, basically, is their response. Very fitting and all that. And they were asked, what is the word shell in regards to this? Like, what's the main gameplay point behind, like, what is Mortal Shell? So you are playing a mortal character, a human, so to speak, in armor, and the shells are these long lost, powerful fighters, and they're literally, you need to seek them out in the game. When you find them, you need to learn what their name was. There's like a little bit of questing to figure out what their original name was. They're kind of almost like like super powerful age-old guardians that used to be fighters, but now they're just a shell waiting for someone to take on their mantle. And you need to learn their name, who they were, and then you can take on their abilities, their shell. And that's the main gameplay. But one of the key things they said is there's only 4, because the other question was like, how many are there? You probably guys don't even know, haven't come to that conclusion yet of how many you're going to put in the game, right? And they're like, no, actually there's only 4. But they said each one of these 4 shells has vastly different sets of skills and abilities that basically make whichever one you tackle on to become can dramatically change how the game plays, as far as you're going to have a different play style with each one. And they said, as an added difficulty, because they are Souls fans, these developers, they said you will also have the option of trying to beat the game without taking on any shell. So you better bet there's going to be hardcore skill speedrunners who are like, alright, I'm going to try to beat this game as a mortal. Because that's basically your only other option. Mortal shells.
Holy shit.
You got 4 shells, powerful guardians that used to fight this earth. You can take on their essence, their abilities, and get through the game in a very unique way. Or you can try the hardcore Souls challenge, I like to call. I'm gonna coin that phrase. The Souls challenge of this game is to go at it as a complete mortal through the whole thing. And they said it will be possible, but it's going to be incredibly hard.
Yeah.
Dude, what are your thoughts about this? I know you like the classic Souls games.
Dude, watching the trailer for this, it looks pretty freaking sick. It's beautiful, and it looks like you get to use the environment to your advantage a little bit harder in this game, which is kind of nice, because one of the shells, it looked like it was a fencer, and she had like 2 rapiers that they were using, and you got to freaking basically dance around. And then there's also the guy who uses the big, like, magic imbued 2-handed sword to like just one shot throttle an enemy really quick and then turn and like Spartan kick another dude off of the edge of the map. It looks pretty freaking cool.
Dude. Yeah, this one, I like the Souls games. I like the idea of the challenge. I don't think I have the commitment to get through one, but I love the idea. I love challenging games, and I also love how this one looks. It looks beautiful, like you said. I guess the one thing I'll say, dude, aside from that, because I don't know how much more what I can say about the game other than check out the footage, guys. We showed you a little bit here, but go check out like the full gameplay outside of here.
I will say that the one boss fight that they spotlighted in this, it's like a 6-armed looking guy. He's got a shield in one arm and a weapon with long reach on it, and he like jumps into the air, and like all you see is like these 4 or 5 arrows come straight at the protagonist, and frickin' he just jumps on him and starts pummeling him. It looks freaking cool.
It looks so cool, dude. Man, on a side note, just like kind of getting to the end of this recording time, guys, because we're running a little short on time here. We've got a full Sony presentation, game reveal episode to do next. We've got a couple more of these expo streams that IGN did that we're going to cover. We've got a couple more titles from this list that we didn't finish. But our goal here this month is to try to keep our episodes close to an hour so they're a little easier to digest for you guys, so that we also can get to everything, because there's a lot to cover. The one thing I want to leave...
Oh, yeah.
The one thing I want to leave with, Lynn, is as a channel that is trying to cover a lot of current games, we have our freaking hands full with how much is coming.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to put this out there. I'd like to say that it is a incredible time to be alive if you're a gamer right now.
Yes. Yes.
So, Lynn, we have reached the end of episode 88 in Gaming Bits for this week. Guys, I just have to conclude by saying follow us on social media if you haven't already. Also, real quick, if you're watching us on YouTube, and you should be, leave a comment down below about your most anticipated game from this list. And yes, I promise you we will cover ones that you didn't hear for this one. Remember, we've got a couple more episodes worth of coverage here, so we're coming back and going to cover more. But of the games we listed, leave a comment down below and tell us of your favorite or most anticipated game coming. Aside from that, guys, hit subscribe to keep up to date on YouTube with all our playthroughs, first looks, game trailer reactions, and other podcasts. We are a huge nerdy variety channel for all gaming's geeks and nerds. And if you're not huge on the YouTubes or the podcasts, check out a website that covers all these things at nerdentialsmedia.com.
.com.
Again. Beginning and end, sir. We never know who's sticking around to the end or who just clicked. But the point is, guys, if you have made it to this point, thank you. We appreciate your time with us, and we hope to continue bringing you guys more great, geeky, nerdy coverage here at Nerdentials. Lynn, I think that's going to do it for this episode of Nerdy Essentials. For me and Lynn, this has been that those Nerdy Essentials. I did that out of order. As always, my gaming nerds, this particular time, we'll see you on the other side. Lynn, that was incredible. You actually timed it. I saw you pause and wait.
Yeah. Holy shit.